Welcome to episode 73, Ancestors.
Join us as we talk about our connection to the ancestors as those who have gone before, as well as the fact that we will be taking our place with them.
And considering the ways in which you interact with your ancestors.
Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Witchy Wit podcast, where we look at life through a witchy lens. I'm Kimberlyn.
I'm Leilani.
At Witchy Wit, we explore current events,
Ideas,
music and books,
and experiences in ways that recognize energy and life in everybody and everything.
We are both real witches.
And we bring two real perspectives through the lens of our different ages,
Races,
and backgrounds.
with a healthy skepticism for what we have been told is true. Our conversations are raw, candid, and vulnerable.
Join us as we cast a spell to uncover what we each know is true in our intuitive, witchy selves.
Welcome to episode
73.
Ancestors. Normally it's like, whoa! So, we'll talk about why we chose ancestors in a moment, but let's start with just figuring out where we are right now.
Well, I think individually and collectively we are in this moment going through things because we are going to be somewhere else.
Yes.
Doing something.
Yes. So this is so exciting. So our check-in is actually a joint check-in. Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Because we've mentioned it. Oh wow. We've mentioned in the past that we're going to be doing the Camino. Well, now we're getting close to actually we decided we're going to deposit. We've chosen a company, and let's talk a little bit about the company, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to? Yeah.
So we picked a company. Something I'll share personally. Mm-hmm. We picked a company. I have scoliosis, mm-hmm. and so it was really important to me to have a baggage transfer. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't necessarily need that. They can carry their baggage. But for me, with the longevity, that's just, if I want to do it, that's something that I want to have that support from. So we picked a company that had the baggage transfer.
Could you explain what that means?
Yes. So thank you. Mm-hmm. They're gonna carry our bag from the end of one stage to the end of the other stage.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And stages are the amounts that one would walk on the path, and then where they stop and then spend the night. Exactly. And so then they're like a Sherpa kind of, like they'll take our bag from where we spent the night while we're walking, and then our bag will be waiting for us when we reach the next hostel that we're staying at.
Exactly. Now, so many people, there's a couple that we follow called the Stingy Nomads, but a lot of people actually carry they carry everything in a backpack. So usually one change of clothes and maybe an extra pair of shoes, and then they carry everything when they get to the next stage, to the next stop, then try to find an albergo or a hostel to stay in. A lot of people use their phones and book ahead of time. And it can be kind of iffy, and sometimes people don't get a place and they end up sleeping on the road or whatever. But that's kind of the really DIY version of it. We ain't doing that.
No.
So you mentioned that you were concerned about the health of your back. And I'm just concerned because I'm old as shit. And so we decided we're going to do a slightly elevated version of that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the baggage.
Yeah, and we're still walking.
Yeah.
But we're just not like...
Well, that's pretty much it.
That's like the tofu and potatoes of it. Like, we're still walking.
We're still doing the walking.
We're just not carrying our bag.
We're not carrying our bags. We're not booking our hotels.
Right.
We're not booking our restaurants. And they're picking us up at the airport.
And yes.
And they're kind of like pointing us in the direction and giving us a big shove.
Like, and then we just start to walk.
Kind of like an automaton. You're like,
right.
This is fun.
But here's the thing, like... You had just had a birthday.
Yes, I did.
And
turned 65.
So like, I think I wonder if we're atypical walkers, if we're atypical travelers. But like, you're 65. I have some concerns because of my back. Like, so this is a conversation that you and I had that I really liked, is that we sat down, we were like, okay, but what is the most important part? And the most important part is that we walk.
Exactly.
And one of my big things, which I think you agreed with, was that we end in Finisterre.
Yes.
So if we keep in mind what is most important, then we're like, okay, so then like the other things that I'm like, what can we do to fix the other things I'm worried about?
And that's why you work and work hard so that you can have the money, the energy in the form of money to give to someone else who can pave the way, make it easier for us to do the walking.
Yeah.
Bam.
Bam.
Works for me.
Yeah. Can I share, or can you share about when we're going to put our deposit down?
Yes. So we're going to do this walk in June, and a lot of the companies who run these kind of they can do it anywhere from just the luggage transfer to what we're doing, which is pretty much everything but the walking. They start planning and organizing and getting people to kind of commit to it now. So when they offer like little discounts, so if you do it now as opposed to waiting until January or something like that. So we're one of the companies that we're doing has given us extended the September special to October 15th for us. And I asked, since we're going to book, we're going to put a deposit down. If instead of waiting to the last minute, if we could actually do it on a very special day, which is Friday the 13th.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Oh.
So it probably means nothing to anyone else, but it means something to us to actually put that energetic form in terms of money, the commitment to this thing that's going to happen next June on a very special day, as we've mentioned in an episode a while back.
We did a whole episode on Friday the 13th.
On Friday the 13th, exactly.
So I think that's so cool that we're bringing, and you were the one that suggested that. I was just going to plug it in my calendar, but you suggested it, and I think it's for me, and I think for us, this Camino that we're doing is so much more than just a trip. It has these spiritual tie-ins, and to book it on a spiritual day is just, I think it's just going to add more energy.
Yeah, and it's a spiritual day for a spiritual super weekend.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So we actually have an episode that's going to be coming out a couple of days in advance on the eclipse, on eclipses in general, but we're doing it because that's Saturday. So Friday the 13th is Friday, which makes sense, right? Because it's in the name. And then the very next day is the first of two eclipses that are going to go that are going to happen right over San Antonio. And so this is the annular eclipse, which will take place on that Saturday. So that's a super weekend for us.
I'm so excited.
I know. It's like instead of March Madness, it's October Madness. Yeah. So I know I'm going to be doing a lot of divination on the 13th. And I think we've talked about this a little bit. I think I'm just going to sit out in my backyard, line up my snacks, have some cards, and I might do like a small fire or something for the annular eclipse. What are your plans?
I'm going to be with my sister, and I think I'm going to throw some cards, and we'll probably sing a little bit.
Sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
Really brilliant. Yeah. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. But I'm one of the things that we also talked about, we're going back and forth, but coming back to the Camino is this idea of preparation. And, I want us to do this walk, and I want us to start, to follow the path that the primitives would have walked, that has been overlaid with the more modern Christian version of it. But I also want us to make sure that we're doing this safely, and that it's not a slog, that we're enjoying ourselves. So, and enjoying ourselves could mean like, okay, we got one more hour. Can we do this?
Right.
Okay, I'm going to keep you going if you keep me going.
Why the fuck did we do this?
What a brilliant idea was this?
Because the peaks are enhanced by the troughs, right?
Exactly.
And the troughs are enhanced because we have the peaks. So we're not sitting on the side of a pool having someone bring us Mai Tais.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But this is something that is pleasurable.
And it's going to be taxing. It's going to be demanding. So yeah, but to prepare for that, we're going to be doing some training.
Yes.
And making sure that we are offering ourselves as the best opportunity to do this well, and to do it safely, and to do it.
Yeah.
And to do it.
And to do it.
And to do
And
it.
to do it. And to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought up the Christian overlay that is on it. And that's something that I think you and I keep bumping into. And it's, I understand the Christian experience of it. And I just keep finding myself reaching beyond that because I really want to, I sometimes feel like I bump into a wall there, and I want to remember to go through that and get to what is really important to me, which is what these people walked long before the Christians walked there.
Oh, exactly. And so just really briefly, because one of the things I'm reading now is that it was less about this pilgrimage and more just walking to a place of power. And so, if you're inland, if you want to get to the place of power, which is on the coast, then you have to walk there, because that's all you had then. And so this idea of people really wanting so badly to get to this place that they're willing to walk from wherever they are to get there, and taking their family and tents and the whole bit, I think is a really powerful image for me to hold on to.
That seems really organic. Like they were like, we just need to walk this way.
Yeah, this is
Just
where we're
walk
going.
west.
We're here. We want to get there. Let's
go.
do this. Come on, Sally. Get the kids.
I do feel like that is what we're doing. Like, we're just point us in that direction and we will walk.
Well, can I want to just share this other thing, and then we'll actually get to our episode.
Okay.
But so we called the airline to try to figure out how this is going to happen, and what we wanted was what I wanted, and it's not, I think what we wanted. I'm just going to say it was that what is it going to look like? What kind of flights are there, so we know what to tell the travel company in terms of when we're going to get in and where where to pick us up and that kind of stuff. Anyway, so talking to the reservationist at the airline, I think he found it a little difficult that we were flying into one airport. And then we were going to fly out from another airport, and we weren't flying in between. And I kept saying again and again, no, we're walking. We're walking from Oviedo to Santiago. And he
did not.
He kept trying to book another.
Yeah, he did not understand.
Yeah, he finally got it.
Yeah, it
but
took a long time.
He said, and so you're flying out of which airport?
Yeah.
And then finally, I think I said a pilgrimage or something, and he was like, "Oh, these wacky nuts."
Right.
Whatever. So anyway, but I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, it was. Well, we will be doing some episodes about this between now and then, during and then after, and we'll be also posting stuff on our Patreon about this as well. So if you're interested in following along with us as we uncover and discover these parts, I would love to have you join us here on the podcast and over at Patreon.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And, no, I was going to say, and we also have some wonderful things in line for today.
We do. Samhain is quickly approaching, and so we've done a couple episodes about Samhain itself, and we thought that it would be interesting to really zone in on one particular aspect of the season, which is ancestors.
Yeah. And because they often figure in our Samhain ritual, sometimes, depending on who's doing them. And for a number of us, they're part of our individual practice. And so I thought it'd be wonderful. Well, actually you thought, because this was your suggestion.
Yes.
It'd be wonderful for us to just kind of delve into ancestor practices in general.
Yeah. And I'd like to have a moment of transparency. I think that my ancestor practice could really use some fleshing out.
I'm twinkling.
Attention.
I'm totally twinkling with you.
So I think if our listeners are looking for an ancestors expert, this is not.
Yeah, turn us off now.
Yeah, this is not that place. So I'm really going to be coming at this from my stance of not being my strong suit. If you want to talk about energy magic, you want to talk about the elements, hell yeah.
And our explorations can be helpful for people who are doing similar exploration, right? Or for those of you who are further along the path, you can hear like nudes are stumbling along, and maybe offer us a hand or something. So I mean, it's not been something that's been a major part of my practice, and I really think about it a lot around Samhain, particularly because we're in San Antonio, which celebrates the Day of the Dead. And so, and everybody, like museums, they create the altars, and various schools, et cetera, et cetera. And I consider that important, and I do some work around it, but that's something that I really, particularly because of some of that, the spiritual aspect of the Camino, that's something that I really want to explore more now.
So it's interesting that you say that you don't think you have a developed ancestor practice. I actually look at you and think that you do, and I'm amazed and inspired by...
Well, tell me what it is. Maybe I can do more of it.
Well, first of all, you have altars set up.
Yes, not yet, but I will be having it'll be out in my living room.
And just like sprinkled throughout the year when we're doing different ritual work, you oftentimes mention the ancestors, your lineage, where you track your lineage to different goddesses that are connected to that. I'm entering a point where I'm feeling uncomfortable because I'm kind of speaking for you, but that's what I see.
Yeah, no, I do some. There is a part of, I guess it's my witchy practice, but it's also kind of a familial thing where you know, Kimberlyn, daughter of Eleanor, daughter of, that kind of stuff. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. And I've heard you, like, you have like connections to some African goddesses.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, yes.
And like, you've mentioned like tracking your ancestry back through there. And then I've heard you bring that up in ritual planning and in rituals themselves. And then,
that, we'll talk more about that because there's a little bit of a leap for me, and I want to explore the stuff in between me and that. And so that's going to be a part of my practice this year. Wow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
that's new information to me.
Okay. Yeah. So, So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like. Different ways that people tend to honor their ancestors, and you mentioned Samhain. We do that. We do that at our. We often have an ancestral component to our Samhain rituals. Sometimes our Yule rituals too, because you're going inward, and often inward kind of explores those type of relationships. But as I said, here in San Antonio, the Day of the Dead, because of the Mexican connection, is huge.
Yeah, like even down to like grocery stores have Day of the Dead altars set up in them. The classrooms.
Yes,
it's just like it's everywhere. Shopping centers. Everywhere. Like spiritual and also the mundane. Like it's just like everywhere.
It's huge.
I do think that there is like a cultural acceptance around it down here. Like I've never heard like tonight on the news, parent upset about Day of the Dead. Like it just seems like it's kind of. It's
like you leave town for the month if it's a thing that really bothers you best leave town for a month. Yeah. So yeah, and then it's so funny because my students had told me about this for years and years and years, and I've never seen it. Finally, this past weekend, this past week, Tuesday, I was babysitting a friend's toddler, and I finally watched Coco.
That's the Disney Pixar?
Yes, that, oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. It's so, well, of course it's vibrant and, beautiful, and the way they just, they talk about the ancestors and how, that picture on the ofrenda is important. And to me, it harkens back to a lot of African spirituality, in that when the last person, like you're alive, your spirit is alive, as long as someone remembers you. And when that last person who remembers you dies, then in African cosmology, you're reborn. As like I don't know how long, it might be 9 months or whatever, but then you come back as a new spirit. Isn't that fascinating?
I feel so tender about that.
It's really beautiful, and it's a beautiful way of keeping the dead a part of your life, and which is not it's not a cultural practice of the dominant culture here in the United States, where first of all, old people are kind of secreted away. Or when they become problematic, when, all of the stuff, they're incontinent or whatever, then that's when they go to the home. And so children don't get, or people in general, but definitely children, don't get to negotiate old age with an old person. And so all they get are the cultural images of old age. And I think that's so sad. And then hence death. So they're protected from death.
Yeah, I feel that's like true in my experience. Protected from death, and death is like this weird bad thing that happens, but it's also very removed from me.
Removed.
Like protected from it, so it's removed from me. So then, like, people kind of get old and die over there. So
you actually don't. Yes, so you don't have contact with your ancestors before they become your ancestors.
Right.
So often, and sometimes it's distance, and I'm not saying everybody does this, but just as a culture, we don't have that connection with our ancestors, even when they could be there giving us guidance literally on the spot, right? Before you have to like do a little ritual to get guidance from them.
Right, right.
But so it's just, it's no surprise that it's difficult for people to kind of grasp it. Yeah.
And we were talking about this before we started to record. One of the things I love about our circle is it puts me in proximity to people who are different ages from me in a very intimate way. And so I have connections with people who are at different stages of their life that I would not have outside of this. And so for me, it's very healing, and it pushes some edges for me. And I've gained some experiences that are really important to me.
Yeah.
And I feel connected to people, and I hope that they feel similarly about me.
Yeah. So shall we talk a little bit about, types of, when we talk about ancestors, like what that looks like, or does that sounds like or feels like?
Yeah, I originally figured ancestors meant the people in my family who, like, previous generations. That was my understanding of ancestors.
And those are ancestors.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why you understood that.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's funny because in our group we tend to call them, because we have it's an enriched experience of ancestors. So we call those type of ancestors of blood and bone, because we literally came from their whatevers.
Yes.
Well, let's not get too involved in that. But we share DNA. We'll put it that way. If assume depending on it.
That's actually interesting. Whoa.
Who was that? I was just talking to someone yesterday about someone who does counseling with people who have children born from donors because they don't have the same DNA.
So in this moment, I'm finding blood and bone to be limiting and not what I actually think. Are you?
Yeah,
what are you experiencing?
It's so we were thinking of it as, okay, this is one category, but even that category is richer than just those terms.
That.
Because there are people who I consider parts of my family.
Yeah.
So those are my ancestors, right? But they are not. We don't share any DNA.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this is happening in real time on our podcast.
We're doing some work. We're exploring.
Well, and I'm thinking I would certainly hate to call in ancestors and have someone standing in the circle who, let's say, they were adopted, and for me to say, and now call in your ancestors of blood and bone, and that's not encompassing.
Right.
It would be more like blood and love, or or something. I don't know. Like, this is fresh for me, but Okay. Yeah, because I agree with you. Like, I consider my ancestors the people who are a part of, like, the energetic lineage of my family, and that actually doesn't really have much to do with blood. It can. Whoa.
So we say blood and bone, so meaning somehow a part of your family, your individual family, right? And then we also talk about ancestors. Well, I say craft, but I think you use a different term. What's the term?
I've heard ancestors of the craft or heart and spirit.
Heart and spirit. So those are the ones I consider that, and I'd love to hear your thought on this. I consider that someone who has forged a way, because to me ancestors have gone before and done stuff before that I've benefited from, and so these are spiritual ancestors for me who have done things and forged ways, and I call them as ancestor. So, for example, we did some work with our apprenticeship where we worked with ancestors they called it ancestors of the craft, and I chose Miriam Makeba because this is someone for whom music was powerful, but she also used it as a means of articulating protest and advocating freedom, etc., etc.
I do remember when we did that.
Yeah.
I had not made that connection for this episode at all.
Yeah.
So I similarly to you, when I think about ancestors of the craft or ancestors of heart and spirit, like you said, people who have forged a way that I've benefited from. So for me, oftentimes I think about feminists. I think about writers, authors. So then I really get like jazzed about feminist authors. And then spiritualists, ritualists, and healers. So on that same part of our apprenticeship, I focused on Mother Teresa as someone who did healing work. And then I actually compared her to Inanna and Inanna's journey, which was really cool.
Really cool.
I really rocked out on that. Inanna is someone that I like really rock out on. So
because she goes deep and she goes dark.
Yes.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah. So it's funny because I use the word craft, but it's not necessarily that they are witches. But because of my work in witchcraft, I see them as an ancestor. I can make that spiritual connection with them. And I think it's the connection part that's the important part. And the part that I draw upon and sit with and explore, because it helps me to know them better, but it also helps me to know myself better.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's finding, so like for our listeners, I would suggest if you're looking at finding ancestors, maybe inside or outside of your family, I would consider like, what are the things that are important to you? I don't know, like if snowboarding is like your passion, then maybe like ancestors of walking around in the snow or stuff, I don't know, like finding those things that are important to you that you connect with, and then finding the people who have come before.
It can be people that you admire, but it doesn't have to be. It could be people who did what you want to do, or who made it easier for you to do what you want to do. But also it could be someone who, and because I was talking to a friend about this, I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was someone who was like a shyster or something. I can't remember if they were a con man or something, but she considered them because of the way in which so it still was something she admired about them, but it was the way that they always landed on their feet. That they, she said they were a shit person, but they always landed on their feet. They always fed their children or something like that. I can't remember. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something. They don't have to necessarily be conventionally admirable people, but it's someone who you want to just do work with for whatever reason. Yeah. Wow, which just opened that up for me. I never thought about that either. So yeah. Wow. So
all right,
this is working.
Yeah.
Working big time. Yeah. Now we need to have an episode on how do you make like buku bucks.
Yeah. We figure it out.
Yeah.
How do you pay for your Camino Primitivo?
Yes, indeed. Okay. Well. Yeah. Okay. This is powerful stuff.
So one of the reasons why I find our connection to ancestors so powerful is to bring it back to something we talked about earlier in the episode. The view I have of death is, I find, very different than the dominant culture's stance around death. Like we talked about at the beginning of this episode. We put the old people over there when things start getting dicey, and then they stay over there until they die, and then we go to their funeral and then we're done. But that's not my practice. Oh, what about it?
No, it's like until we go to their funeral and then they're done.
Right.
Check. Okay.
But that's,
So it's amazing because as we think about ancestors, they are people who theoretically love us and care for us and want to do well for us. And so that's something to call upon. Their family members who have gone before, so they've experienced stuff. They have knowledge that can be helpful, and they also have knowledge that comes from passing from this veil to another. So they have the knowledge of this world that they can share with us, but then they've done something that I haven't yet done, which is crossed over. And while the crossing over part may or may be an important part of this, the knowledge that they get from being in that place is an important part. So having experienced death, they're now at the place that exists after death. And I can't speak for anyone but myself, but I assume that it's this wide open place of just of potential and possibilities that we can't fathom because we're not dead yet.
And if I think about the rites of passages that I have willingly or somewhat begrudgingly gone through in my life, right?
Yeah.
You know, everything from puberty to divorce to graduating, you know, just if I take in all of those, I see how impactful those transitions and transformations have been on my life. And one of my favorite movies, which is also a book that I think is not good. The movie was much better than the book. It's called Peaceful Warrior, and one of the characters in the book, his name is Socrates, not that Socrates, but his name is Socrates, and he talks about how death is a transformation, and he's like a little bit more dramatic than puberty, but still just a transformation. And he's kind of funny, and that line really stuck out to me because I think that that's true. Like I'm constantly being transformed through the things I just mentioned, you know, through graduating, through moving, through puberty, you know, starting to menstruate and having my body changed. People are transformed with child rearing, divorce, marriage, you know, all these things. And I've learned so much from that. And I think death is, like he said, like a more intense transformation, but a transformation nonetheless. If I learned so much from this, what am I learning from that? That is a lot. And I want to continue my connection to those who have gone before me, so I can tap into that. Just like when I got divorced, I reached out to you and you supported me through that. I similarly want to reach out to my grandmother who has gone before me so that I can learn from her.
Yes. And what I think is important for me is that there's that knowledge, the information that they can share, but there's also the energy, which I think is going to be as transformational, if not more so, than just, okay, baby, when you get to the train, get on the train. Don't stand there and wait for the next train. Right. It's not going to be better. Get on the train. You know. So you know, there's that kind of like practical knowledge, but then there's just the energy of what they are now, which is going to be so dramatically different. I don't know. Maybe not. You know, it depends. It depends on what they. It also depends on what they care to share. Right.
Yeah, and I have a beloved, a very, very close beloved who can communicate with people on the other side. And that beloved has really impacted my belief about what happens after people die, because that beloved has experienced the dead changing.
Right.
You know?
Wow.
Like we've, there's some family members who were not, like you call them shysty. Shysters. Yeah, some family members that are shysters before they pass. And like there's clearly been some work going on the other side of the veil. Yeah. And so like that's been really interesting for me to think about that, you know,
because they don't freeze when they die. They continue to grow.
Right. Because a question for me is like, if you're like, I love this word, shyster over here. When you die, are you a shyster over there?
Yeah.
Or when you die, do you just suddenly become like a Mother Teresa over there, even though you were a shyster over here? You know.
Ooh.
So like in that beloved's experience, there is some transformation, and not instantaneously, but there is some transformational work going on over there.
That's good to know.
Because
I would hate to think that I kind of freeze at where I am when I'm gone. You know, when I go, that I can continue to evolve.
Yeah, I certainly want to. Oh, can we talk about the cauldron?
Sure.
As an image, it's not just what you brew in.
Well, yeah, it's a container.
It is.
It's a container. Yeah. You want to?
Yeah. So one of the images that I think is really powerful is the idea of the cauldron as the thing from which I am born from, and the thing with which I return to. It's the container.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's not where I thought you were going. Yeah.
Okay, so can we talk about that first?
Yeah,
and then,
sure.
because I also want to hear what you have to say. So for me, the cauldron is this, it's like the ocean, the place, the cauldron and the ocean are very similar in the way I think. So it's like a metaphorical place from which I'm born. And then at the end of my life, I will lay and my body will go back down into that cauldron of transformation and rebirth. And then I and others will be reborn out and come back in.
Okay, that's kind of, okay. It's just a different way of thinking about that. I mean,
Can you say it in your words?
Well, no, I was thinking, I like the cauldron of transformation, that it's like we talk about this cauldron, and for me, the cauldron is like this world, and maybe there's another different planes or whatever. But the cauldron just holds it. So the stuff that we see is just kind of like a place, contains, and they all contain energy. And so I think of going into the cauldron, I think of being in this world as being in this cauldron, and that it's connected to all these other ones. But the idea is that there's this transformation. But what we tend to see is this world, trees, my house, and then we see another cauldron, which is a coffin, death, etc., etc. But that's not where literally the juiciness. That's not really where the energy is. That's just the container for it. And I, in the dominant culture, gets caught up in the container. And all the stuff is really like our spirits, the stuff that's in between our cells. That's all in the cauldron. So that's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
And I love it too. And I just love how we're all, and there's another woman in our circle who loves to sing "Going Down in the Cauldron." I would love to hear how she thinks about it, because probably there's every time someone sings cauldron, there's a different like kind of process going on behind their brains in terms of associations. Yeah.
Some of the lyrics to that chant that we sing are "Gonna lay my body down in the cauldron, crones a callin', gonna be reborn." That's one of the parts I love about it. And I
I'm going to sing it. I'm going down in the cauldron. Don't you worry and don't you moan. I'm gonna lay my body down in the cauldron. Crones are calling, gonna be reborn. So I'm picturing, like you're going in the cauldron and you're in this brew and this cone, cackling and stirring. And then like your spirit flies out, like totally changed, dripping wet, just amazing. Yeah.
Something I love about that is that it's this image, and even singing that song, it, instead of death being that thing that's over there that we put off and then we go to the funeral and then check we're done, I'm thinking about death every time we sing that song, and other ones that I hope we're going to talk about later too. I'm thinking about death every Samhain ritual, and I'm thinking about death every winter solstice ritual. But for me, it makes death this part of life, woven into this part of life. And I think about death every time I see the leaves change colors, and fall from the tree. And so death becomes not this thing that I don't think about or is put over there, but death becomes this thing that's woven into all these different parts of my life.
Yeah. And it's so funny because and this is one of the reasons why I want to explore it more, ancestor worship and my ancestors and the concept of death, because I get so caught up on that container, on the picture, like here is life, there is death. They're two different containers and you go from one to the other. And what kind of excites me about this is that transformation that's going on, the juicy stuff, like all of our waters throughout the world are connected, right? So even if to my untrained worldly eyes it looks like there's two different containers, they're not really, because the water is the same, and the ancestors are in there with us. We just not trained really, or are open to seeing them fully. So it's just really one thing of water, and if I work on it more and more and more, I can stop seeing these containers, these artificial constructs that are cauldrons.
Yeah.
And just see like the energetic allegorical cauldron, which is really just like this water, and it might have like a wall of water, but it's still water, right? So anyway, I think have we moved far afield?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But that makes me really think about how I don't want to think about my ancestors being over there. You know,
They're not.
They're not. They're here.
They're here,
and I am there.
And that, oh yes,
you know, like it goes both. There like energy goes both ways there, and so like they are not confined to my altar, and they are not confined to Samhain and or winter solstice. You know, like they are here, and yes, this time of year, for different reasons and different beliefs, the veil thins. We can connect with them more, which I do think is true. Like I feel that, and that doesn't mean that they're not here all the time. Like my grandmother is the ancestor that I feel like a lot of connection with, and she's here with me all the time. I talk to her all the time, but not just on Samhain, and not just whenever I'm standing near my altar. We're in the cauldron. I'm in the cauldron all the time, and she is too.
And yes, and where she ends and you begins, because it's watery, right? And I think Samhain is just this period, this time where if you're not used to doing that, it's easier to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the skulls and the scary things and the horror movies make
they get us thinking about death, and hopefully not thinking about it as something over there, but thinking about it as a part of. I mean, you're just surrounded by it, so something's got to soak in. I mean, hopefully not Freddy Krueger or whatever. But
that's not what I choose to soak in, but maybe if that's what gets people into it, like, if Freddy's the way for you, like Mr. Krueger.
Here's Donnie. Yeah, so exactly. As I've explored my witchy side, and as I've gone deeper and deeper into the woo, I never really shared it with my mother. And so she can figure stuff out, because I wasn't hiding how I felt, etc. But I never told her that I was a witch. And so she's been gone now 6 years, and throughout this time I've been resistant on connecting with her or calling for her or anything, because the Christian "thou shalt not suffer a witch to live" and all that kind of stuff. And I know she loves me, and people say that once you're beyond the veil, these artificial constructs that we make are not there. That these are things that we've made in this world, like the cauldron, right? That it looks different from that cauldron, and so there's fear. There's fear for me in terms of not anticipating a rejection, but just like, she's my mommy, and I want her to love me, and I want I don't want to disappoint her. And so anyway, this is, wow, this is taking me back. So, but it's been a struggle for me. And one of the things I've kind of set as not a task, but as an area of exploration is allowing myself to open to my mom. I've touched on distant aunt, like grandparents and stuff like that. So I know that it's not going to be, but it's so here it is. It's going to be a dramatic change of our conversation, right? Because that's not been a part of our conversation. Because I deliberately avoided that, because I knew she was a staunch Christian, and in life, and so it was never a part of our conversation. So I'm going to stop talking about it right now. But that's an area I've resisted for now 6 or 7 years, and 6 years, and I'm opening myself up to this year. Wow.
Wow. But I think, if nothing else, I think that to me helps me understand that for it's not a universal experience of like, once they die, cool, now we're gonna like jam out and connect authentically. That there's like a process on maybe both sides. I at least see one on your side.
Yeah, she's probably sitting there going, girl, get over it, get over it. Like this, that was so 2017, you know? And so it's probably, I'm pretty sure it's probably all me. Mm-hmm. And I can't, I can't rush it. I can't say, dang it, why am I not there talking with my mother right now? Mm-hmm. So, I can, and I have, but, yeah.
Wow. Wow. For me, I was excited. This is going to sound bad, but it's true. I was excited for my grandmother to pass because I felt a sense of when my grandmother passes, I won't have to censor myself around her, and I can just speak to her as I am. I never, like you, I never lied to her. I never was like, yes, Grandma, I love going to church and I'm a Christian. I never said that. And my grandmother was a good Southern woman who knew not to ask questions you don't want answers to. So she loved me, and she would just be like, are you doing okay? Are you, yes, Grandma, I'm doing good. But when she passed, there was a sense of excitement that like, now she's going to get to see all of me. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, I was worried about sharing it right now. Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Because she was very Christian, and I wanted to respect and honor her practice, but also that was not my practice. And my practice is so important to me that I did feel this sadness that she didn't get to see and hear about these things on this plane. Grandma, like my circle's doing so well. Grandma, I just did my apprenticeship. Grandma, like I'm a priestess. Grandma, I get to do this. I didn't get to share those things with her, but now I do. Thank you. For this little thing, you're my ancestor. You forged ahead, and you're sending me energy back. Yay! I appreciate hearing that so much. Okay. Other than my grandma, though, I don't really know I don't really know my lineage genetically. I don't really know where I'm from. I think there's been rumors. I've heard that maybe there's like something about Germany, but I really don't know, and I don't really feel like a deep desire to like figure that out. I don't really know what that's about. And then you and I have a mutual friend who's been on the podcast, Zan, and he like figured out his ancestry, and like that, like he was like he deep dove. Oh yeah, deep dove. I mean, like he's got tattoos, and it's like important to him, and I think that's so cool. He lives it huge. I think it's so cool, and even the things I've seen you talk about, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And yet, for myself, there's like this lack of that. Because you don't need it right now, maybe. I don't really know what it's about. Mm-hmm. You've got plenty to explore without having to worry about that, right? Yeah, my brother has done some genealogical stuff through some of those websites. Mm-hmm. My interest in that is like I want to connect with. I'm an extrovert. Mm-hmm. I want to connect with the people that I'm related to because like cool, more friends. Yes, yeah. But the idea of like finding out the lineage is I don't really have any. Like I'm not against it, but I also don't have any like I guess apathy is like a feeling. I'm like meh. So a funny story. I did Ancestry, and I actually found a cousin who I'm still. So I found the name, and it's like you have to pay money. I'm not paying money for that. But then I did a Facebook search. Or he did a Facebook search because maybe they told him or whatever. I can't remember. Anyway, we hooked up on Facebook. He's I guess he's graduated from college now, but he is related to my father's family. That during the the Northern Migration moved to Indiana, and so we did. I mean we just talk to each other on Facebook every once in a while, but it's just so sweet because here's this person who at the time he contacted me I think was 20, and just this young kid in college, and we figured out how we were related, and it was just really sweet because that part of the family I thought it died out because the people that I knew were older than my father and stuff. So I thought that they had died out, forgetting, of course, they have children too, but we were never close to them. So I didn't know anything about it. And the people I would talk
to about them are all gone. So it was wonderful hooking up with him because he could reattach me to or reattach that branch to my lineage in my mind.
That's cool.
Isn't that sweet?
That's so cool.
That's so sweet.
That's really...
And that's not paying the extra money to Ancestry, my friend. So just be aware. Just be aware that you don't have to do that. But the beauty of it is, particularly for Black people, I think, because we are so cut off from our lineage, it stops in many cases. It stops once they, from in the United States, and sometimes not even because of very lack of birth records and things like that. Some people don't know past their grandparents, and so for me doing the Ancestry, because I found that I had, part of, I think 20 something percent was Nigerian, then Mali, then some Bantu, and so different things like that, and it helped me to foster that connection that I think you saw, where I really could express some of my longing and ways that I can connect with these archetypes that many, Hera doesn't resonate for me, so, but Oshun resonates big ass for me. So, and she has a big ass, which I like. So, that allows me to kind of reconnect. And so what we have here is kind of, I don't know past my great grandparents, who was born, my great grandmother who was born in slavery, and then nothing. And then I know that there's parts of my DNA comes from various places. So I have to leap over a connection that some people who can, they can trace their family to the Mayflower or whatever, England, or that I don't have, but I don't feel I need, because there's other things that resonate for me, and that's fine. And I don't need to know everyone.
You're just going back to your connection with Oshun has given me a connection with Oshun.
Oh, really?
Because of the energy that I see whenever we have done any sort of work around, even whenever I'm not in that ritual space with you. But I have this tenderness and this awe for her just by proxy to you.
So glad.
It's so cool.
Yay. Good, because she's my girl and I'm her girl. So we hang out. So, yeah. Thank you. One of the things that I'd like to talk a little bit about is, we've talked about this song, I think, on one of our Samhain rituals, is Dance in the Graveyard. And I love, this is a Delta Ray song, and I love the imagery of it. The idea that it's not about mourning, it's about, the song is called Dance in the Graveyards. I don't know if I said that. And it's about dancing with these people who have gone on before, and they're using Day of the Dead imagery. So that idea of that, at a specific time, it's easier to do. But the premise that you can do this anytime and that they're always there. And it's not just, okay, I need information from you, grandmother. It's just delighting with them. Just like I love spending time with you. Love, having the opportunity to spend time with them and doing stuff that I like moving my body, singing, dancing, that kind of stuff. I love that imagery. I love that song.
I love that song too. You showed me that song. One of the things that I love most about that song is that one of the lines is, "When I die, I don't want to rest in peace. I want to dance in joy." And this idea that death is not this place where you rest, almost like you just go to sleep forever, which is kind of I think how I grew up thinking about it, but that it's almost this enlivening of the spirit, of the soul. And so in the video, these people who have passed it, they come alive and they're there and they're dancing with their beloveds who are on this side of the veil. And that to me speaks of that's how I want to be.
Yeah.
And I want to dance with the people, my ancestors that have gone before. And then I want to be danced with. Yes.
And so it's funny because as we think about the ancestors, and this is, I have no corroboration from anyone. I guess next Samhain I can sit down and ask them this question. But to me, it seems like what happens at death is you drop all of this, you drop all the bullshit. You drop what the culture's told you. You literally drop the body. So all of the things that kind of keep you from being your bright shining being are no longer important. Unless you want them, I guess you can keep them if you want to, or you can become a ghost or something, right? But it just seems like this is this wonderful transformation into being more the authentic, essential you, whatever. If you're a shyster or whatever, there's some working through there. But I haven't thought this through. But that's kind of this image that I have.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
And I don't think that the dead are limited to being in this graveyard and that we have to go there. But I think it's more metaphorical. I think the song is more metaphorical. But it does, I have thought, like, it would be fun to go dance in a graveyard. Like, to go,
yes!
Like, that does sound fun. Although I do think I can dance anywhere.
You can dance anywhere.
Especially in ritual space, I can make anywhere a graveyard.
A graveyard, yes, you can. Ooh, but I love that idea, Kimberlyn, can you can you bring some bail money in? Apparently you're not supposed to be dancing in graveyards.
I don't know what would happen. Although I do feel like I could call you for that and you'd be like, okay.
Yeah, I'm there. I have like a special bail bag off to the side. It was going to pay for Camino, but whatever. So yeah. No, I love that. I love that imagery.
One of my favorite ancestors chants is dancing bones. I'm like dancing right now, like bones. And I just love it because it describes the fact that we're spirits wearing skin, and that we're these bones that get to dance. And it reminds me of, for me, it's a call to remember my mortality. That, like, all right, now I'm in this like meat suit,
The meat suit.
and I got these bones in me. They're like holding up my meat suit, and that I can that I can dance and I can move around. But that is where I am now. But that is not where I will be forever.
You'll lay it down. You'll lay the body down.
I like to go to the other song. Yeah. I will lay the body down in the cauldron.
I love it. So shall we talk a little bit about? Yeah. So one of the things that we mentioned this idea of songs, and so we sing so many, and some are basically about death and dying, but some are actually about our ancestors, and I think about them, they're so varied because I think they kind of focus on one. A song can only do but so much in a small amount of time, so they might focus on one aspect of it. But I think it's fascinating, like the different aspects that they focus on. So, would you like to talk about that a little bit? Or is there something else you'd like to talk about before we do that? I'm sorry.
When you started talking, I started singing one of them in my head. I started swaying.
Which one did you sing?
I was singing "History Mystery," and I lost myself.
So let's talk about that one. So it's history, mystery, legacy, destiny. We are the gifts, and we pass it on. Love and spirit for those yet before. Love and spirit for those yet to come. Yes. So again, this idea, this is that line, lineage, right? And talking about, we are just, when we talk about ancestors, we're eventually going to be ancestors, right? So we're in this continuum, and we're at this one point in the spectrum right now, and do we move, or the spectrum move? I'm not quite sure about that.
I don't even know.
But it's just like this long lineage where you look back and you see all these bodies, and you look forward and you see all these bodies, and for a moment you're this body. Okay? And I love that.
And I believe that chant was written by Suzanne Sterling?
Raven Stanfield.
Oh, Raven.
Who does a lot of stuff with
Suzanne
Sterling, so that might be why you thought that. But I think she wrote it herself. And I don't think she wrote it for our apprenticeship program, but we sang the shit out of it.
We did.
Yes, and then I think we sang it at camp and stuff like that too. So it was, brilliant. So, another one. So there's, Thorn Coil, who is, she's not reclaiming, she's fairy? Thorn Coil?
I don't know what I don't know.
I
don't think she is reclaiming.
Yeah, I think she's fairy. I can't remember. But anyway, T. Thorn Coil has at least one recording, probably, I think maybe 2 or 3, with Sharon Knight. And they have the beyond the gates. I see my father beyond the gates. I see my mother. There I see the line of my people going back to the dawn of time. Beyond the gates, I see my sister. Beyond the gates, I see my brother. There I see my beloved kin going back to the dawn of time. I will take my place among them. I will drink of life everlasting. I will live in the hall of the mighty until the end of time. I love that. I love it.
And I think you can YouTube that, right? Or it's like available. Like,
it's available on Spotify,
Yeah,
and I mean it's an album. It's literally a published album, so you can find that. But I just, the idea of, yes, there's these ancestors, and I'm going to be a hallowed ancestor one day myself, and I'm going to, and it's not this end. It's actually like really the start of the super whoopie-doo part of my life. This was all just kind of like preface, like preamble.
I love that. I love that this is the preamble, and like, the real cool shit is going to go down over there.
Exactly. When they're like, girl, come on, no, don't come early. Come when you feel invited. But when you feel invited, get your ass on over here. Let's boogie. So, can I? This one is. This is one of those kind of mystical ones where it's like you just feel it. It's we are the old ones. We are the ancient ones. We are the old ones, and we bring you joy or love or peace or whatever.
Yeah.
And then lay your body down. Lay your body down. Lay your body down and rest and rest. So they're like, I know they're like calling us. They're like, come on, rest your body for a moment, because then we're gonna boogie.
Then we're gonna dance in the graveyard.
we want you to rest, because I know it's a little traumatic, because you thought you were going to, like, I don't know what you thought, but this is the reality.
I mean, I need to rest after like a 14-hour flight. Like, you rest a little bit, and then I go enjoy.
That's exactly. I know. But isn't that wonderful?
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and I'm remembering there being like an echoing as we sing that.
Lay your body down.
Lay your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah. So, but again, it explores a different part. It explores that kind of that invitation. We're here. We're here, and you can join us when it's your time, and take a moment, and then you become a part of this kind of these waves and layers of experience that are so much more huge than the one that we're in now, right? Because there's just so much more of it, yeah? And it gets richer and richer with each person that joins it and adds their life to it.
Oh,
right?
Whoa.
Right? Whoa. And that's going to happen when you join it. Whoa. And that's going to happen when I join it. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. That's where the party is, my friends.
Yeah.
Because this is just, think of this as like preschool, where we're learning our letters and how to not beat each other to shit and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's really just like our training wheels or something. And that's, to me, I think that's where the life and the joy really flower. I mean, it can flower here. It should flower here. And, but it's, to me, this, and I think I've said this on a number of occasions, to me, this life is us playing house. And, you have the make and bake oven, and I come home and I pretend I came home from work and stuff. And our parents are the ancestors looking down. Aren't they cute? Look at that. They think that honey, catch her before she eats that, okay? That's what I picture, is the ancestors just looking at us, just kind of like, they're so cute. They're, they think that this is all really important, but whatever. So that's what I'm picturing.
Oh,
and that's what that chant resonates for me.
I'm just going to need to spend some time with that. That is beautiful.
I have I have sat and sung that song for like an hour. And I find it transformational because it allows me, I find it most useful when I'm getting myself caught up in, I've got to send this memo, I've got to call, in fact, actually, I do have to call HR to ask about Medicare. But anyway, but you know, when all of those things, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do that, all I really have to do is lay my body down and rest. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, I might choose, because next week I want to like get paid, I might choose to do some other stuff, but that I don't have to do that. I'm choosing to do that. So sometimes when I get really, really anxious or fraught, I sing a chant like that, because that, first of all, it actually calms, it brings my blood pressure down, it slows down my heart rate and my pulse, but then it gives me perspective.
If talking about the ancestors doesn't give perspective, I don't know what does.
Exactly. Well, one of the things I used to say, and I haven't said it in a while, maybe I should, is if, you know, something's really, you know, oh, this is important, I've got to make sure I do it. If on my deathbed, I wouldn't have thought that was important. Like if I said, oh, I'm so, you know, as I'm laying there dying, I'm really glad that I did this thing. If it's not important then, it's not really important now. And that chant is kind of a musical way of saying that.
Mm-hmm. I feel this sense of, I think I'm a little whacked out in my brain right now. Like, I think I'm a little tranced out.
We're kind of trancing? We're kind of trancing. I shouldn't have sung it. Sorry.
No. Well, this is what happens when you sing around me. I have this, because of our practice together with some other people, when I hear their voice, either their spoken voice or their singing voice, I start dropping into another, yeah.
Gotcha. So, okay, well, I'm gonna, you know, what's on the back of your toilet?
A candle that's almost done.
Okay, good. And what are you going to do later today? I mean, not to overshare on.
Today I'm going to go home and then I'm going to go do some light acro and handstands, but just recreationally. I'm not training.
Okay, good. Okay, do you need to pat yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to sing another one, but I don't think I will now.
I think we're good. So
okay.
Thank you to our listeners for joining us for this episode.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes we're here, sometimes we're not. So
I am there.
Yeah.
Pulling myself back to here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, and enjoy a reverent and blessed Samhain.
With yourself and with the ancestors.
And with the ancestors.
We hope you have enjoyed the magic that has unfolded here at Witchy Wit.
It would be great if you would help make Witchy Wit possible and get access to exclusive content by donating on Patreon.
We'd love it if you join our Witchy community and enjoy shareable content on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Would you do us a big favor and support us by rating and reviewing us wherever you get your podcasts? It's free and helps witchy folks find us.
Feel free to email us at witchywitpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear from our community. Reach out and let us know what's brewing in your cauldron.
New episodes are released every second and fourth Friday. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform so our episodes go right to your playlist. You can listen as you ride your broom.
Stay witchy, y'all!